Okay, so we've basically installed all the tools we need, the virtual environment, our Git Bash terminal, the Sublime Text Editor, Python itself. Now it's time to install Django itself and create our first project. So it's super easy to install Django. We're gonna use pip to do that. And we are in our C Django stock directory. That doesn't really matter. The important thing is though we're running in our virtual environment. We see this little venv that tells us that. So inside of this, we just type in pip install Django. Now, this will install the latest version of Django. If you have a specific version you need to install in this virtual environment for some reason, if you're working on some old website that has a very specific version of Django, you can just type in equal equal and then, the version number, right? Whatever it is. And it'll install just that version number. We just want the latest version, so I'm just gonna pip install Django. So it's collecting all the stuff from, looks like this pythonhosted.org. And it's using a cached file, doing all the things. And this should just take a minute or so, maybe less, depending on your computer, and you'll be ready to go. So it's installing this pytz, which is, I think, a Python time zone file or program, SQL parse, which is a database thing, and Django itself. It's just what comes with Django at this particular moment. And it looks like it's installing version 2.2.3. Again, if that's a different version by the time you watch this, as long as it's not like version 3 point something, you're fine. Okay, so we're good to go here. Let's clear the screen. Now let's run pip freeze again. Remember when we did this in the last video, there was nothing listed. Now we see we have Django 2.2.3, this pytz thing we don't really care about, and this SQL parse thing we don't really care about. But now we're ready to go. So Django has now been installed inside of our virtual environment. It's not on our computer, it's inside our virtual environment. So if we destroy this virtual environment or delete it or deactivate it, Django will no longer work. It only works in this little virtual environment, which is exactly what we want. We want this version to work in this virtual environment, and that's very cool. So now we need to just create our new project. So let's go Django. Again, we're in this C Django stock directory. So Django admin.py and then start project. And then let's name this thing. What do we want to call this? Let's just call it stock or stocks. Our project name is stocks. I don't know. We're going to create a stock market website that allows us to get quotes and things. So let's just call it stocks. Now, notice I typed in Django admin.py. This usually works for everybody, but if it doesn't for some reason, leave the .py off of here. Just type in Django admin, start project, stocks. Some computers, for some reason, I've never been able to figure out why, just require that. But normally you would type in Django admin.py, start project, and then name your project. So we can do that. Now, if we type in ls, we see we have this stocks directory, which we just created here. So let's cd to change into that directory. And notice I just typed S and then hit the tab button and it auto fills out for me, so I don't have to type in stocks. It's a handy little tip. Okay, so now we can see we're in C Django stocks/stocks. And if we ls here to list the stuff, we have this manage.py file and this other stocks directory. And the manage.py file, if you're not familiar with Django, that's the main file that allows us to run all kinds of Django commands, right? So to do that, let's just go ahead and run our first Django command. So type in Python, manage.py, and then run server. And this will run the little server that comes with Django, which will allow us to run our project in a web browser and see if we've installed everything correctly. So you can see watching for file changes. So that means that the server is running, sort of running in the background here. So we can pull up a web browser now and head over to localhost 8000. And the Django web server runs on the port 8000. So that's how we do that. And hit enter. And when we do, hopefully we'll see this little screen that has a fun little rocket shaking around. And this is the default web page for all new projects in Django. This means that our installation was successful. Everything worked. Django was installed correctly. Our new project was created successfully, and we're good to go. So congratulations if you got this far. Very cool. Always a fun little thing to see that rocket ship, because sometimes we get errors and that's never fun. So next, head over to Sublime Text and click on this project button and then add folder to project. We want to see all of our files. So navigate to your C drive and then find our Django stock directory that we created. Double click that and then single click this stocks directory and click select folder. And when we do, boom, all of our files pop up. You see there's that manage.py file that we just saw. There's that other stocks directory. When we open this, there's a settings.py file, a urls.py file, and this wsgi.py file that we never really messed with. So these are the main files that come with Django, and we'll get into all this coming up in the next couple of videos, what these are, how to use them, and what we're looking at here. But yeah, this is pretty much now the environment we're going to work in for the rest of this course. We're going to, open files, do stuff to the files from time to time. We'll pull up our git bash terminal and run a command when we need to do that. And we're pretty much ready to go. So I'd say the sort of setup phase of our new project is done. Now we can move into actually building this thing out, and we'll start to do that in the next video.